let's dive into Wintersleep.
Hmm.
And I wanted to kick off this section powerfully. So I reached out and I got some kind words from a fellow Wintersleep band member. This is from Jon Samuel. So for the listeners, he's keys, backing vocals, and guitar with Wintersleep. This is what Jon Samuel has to say about one Loel Campbell. He says, Loel is a shepherd of songs because at his core, he's a songwriter and a lover of a good song. It's what makes him a good drummer, a good musician, and best of all, a great musical mind. These days, I pride myself on breaking songs down to their bare essentials. Lowell has the never ending foresight to see these simple ideas through. He keeps the basic interesting and musical. So that's Jon Samuel from Wintersleep.
Oh wow, that's really really thoughtful comment. That's really nice. Really nice to hear. Thanks, Joe.
There you go, your boy Jon. How did the band members meet and for Wintersleep, and where did the idea of maybe starting a band together come from?
We met, well, Brian Borchard, who I mentioned, he was from Yarmouth and he was releasing his own music through this label called Dependent Music. And I was just, super excited by that idea. So I got involved in helping with make the website and stuff for that, and kind of the online community. We had like message boards back then, and they were kind of populated by people from my area, Pictou County and Yarmouth. And and Tim and Paul's band Carrie was part of the Dependent thing. So I started talking to Tim like on the internet, like when he's a few years older than me, but I got in touch with Tim through Brian, and we started sharing music, like stuff that I was working on, and he would send me Carrie stuff, and just like, we just toss around like guitar ideas or whatever, and just, it just kind of immediately in this musical conversation. And I met Paul through Tim, and I met them. They snuck me into they had like a show New Year's Day here in Halifax where it was Carrie and Burnt Black. And that's when I met Tim and Paul for the first time. I was 15 years old, so I got snuck into this bar. And
Did you have a beard already? Did you look of age?
No, I couldn't grow a beard then. I don't think I could grow a beard until I was like 21 or something. That filled out. So no, I was like, I was tall though. I had
That
just
helps.
I had just kind of gone through my last so I was, I was aware. I was kind of like I'd gotten into some bars around my hometown before that. And I was just so excited to see these bands because I was such a huge fan of them. And met them, and then I graduated the year after. And I don't know, I was kind of already in in a lot of conversations with Tim especially, and Paul too. And as soon as I moved to Halifax, I had an apartment, kind of like a dorm room that I shared with four of my friends from Stellarton. And I was fortunate to get like this big room in it, and it was in a really like a 30-story building. And it was a concrete structure, so the walls were like really not soundproof, but like I could get away with having a drum kit in my room. So that was kind of started out as like a place to facilitate some choir music. At least like we couldn't contrive was very loud, and like everything was on 11. But me and Paul connected because we just wanted to try something a bit lighter anyways. A lot of the stuff that he had at that time was, like just kind of suited, kind of like how that first Wintersleep record sounds. It's just kind of more sparse, and just everything's just kind of like has this lighter approach for the most part, outside of like Orca and like the outro of Avalanche or something like that. It's pretty guitar driven, and like acoustic guitar driven, and just with like, so we were just trying to experiment with like a softer touch, and like we were influenced by bands like Low and like some of that slowcore kind of stuff, and like we were really into Hayden then too, and kind of like the way he approached just production, I guess, not necessarily songwriting, but yeah, so and then Tim started coming over and making up parts for guitar parts in addition to the kind of fundamentals that we had established already. And yeah, it's just kind of like just super gradual kind of kind of unexpected kind of progression. It was very organic. Just kind of snowballed.
I've always wanted to know the meaning behind the name Wintersleep. So to me, and maybe it's a magician isn't allowed to say his tricks or whatever, but I have to ask. For me, it's like I think of maybe the winters in the East Coast, like it's so cold you just want to hibernate. That's always just been my random thing.
Yeah.
Do you remember how Wintersleep comes together as a band name, or if there's a meaning behind that, or?
Paul had the name because it's basically the German translation of hibernation, Winterschlaf. And he was versed in German then. He was taking German classes, and his girlfriend was German. So I don't know. He was just kind of and it really fit because we were just kind of like hunkering down in like a cozy kind of space. And I think them, like Tim and Paul from Yarmouth, and I'm from New Glasgow area, we kind of had a similar existence of this kind of like the winter being kind of like a creative time, a time that you could kind of spend trying to not be bored. So to do something creative, So I think we all shared that kind of upbringing of just being from small towns where not a lot was going on, so you had to make your own fun, just kind of, which is pretty awesome thing to figure out, really, that to know that you're kind of to kind of have a straight shot to knowing that you're a creative person. Yeah. But yeah, I guess that's where the name comes from, though. Is Paul had it, and the last song on one of the Carrie records was actually called Hibernation. Their record, The Sound of Beauty Breathing. So it all kind of tied in somewhat to just kind of this evolution, this kind of, because Carrie was super heavy and Contrived is super heavy, and just kind of this this detachment from this kind of other outlet, this scratching, this more gentle kind of, because I don't know, I think you come out swinging when you're starting to play music, especially from where we were from and like what we were exposed to. You kind of like come out just thinking that you got to be the loudest, the most intense, and then when you kind of start, when the songs kind of start to come into focus, that that you're more trying to, maybe your picture requires a different palette you're painting. We all kind of got to shift lanes, I guess, at the same time.